the spelling of my last name has a K, so if you forget how to spell it, there's Wasko County, the city of Wasko, there's the Wasko tribe here in Oregon. Don't spell it that way. So just thank you for that invitation. Just a little bit about education in my life, not just as a participant or a student, but my grandmother was a school teacher, my dad was a school teacher and administrator. Let's see, my older sister, only 13 months older, but she is a teacher at the university level down in Arizona. And I have a son who teaches biology, chemistry, and high school math. So, and if that wasn't enough, I married a woman whose father was a teacher and administrator, who has a sister who is an early education teacher, and who has a daughter, who's my niece, who's also early education down in Independence. So, so I was able to kind of tap into them. I'm like, well, what do you guys think as teachers? So that's very helpful. Okay, we're back. And my dad always had plenty of things to say about education, so a lot of background there. I came into IBM via acquisition, so I was an OIT grad. Took a year or two to figure out what I wanted to do, did some contract program, and then started with a company called Sequent Computers, based out of Beaverton. Started there in '89, worked there until 2000, and then IBM acquired us. Found out July of '99, driving to work, turned on the radio on a Monday morning, and in today's news, IBM buys Sequent. I was very surprised. So that's how I learned about it, got in the office, and there was an email explaining it. All that to be said, I'm actually glad that I'm there. A lot of us transitioned into products and areas that made sense for our careers. For me, I went into service and started up the Linux support business for IBM. And then since then I've moved into engineering and had various engineering roles. And been able to stay in the state of Oregon. And so one of those enviable IBMers that get to live in the beautiful Northwest. So just a little bit about IBM in Oregon that might surprise you. IBM has been in the state for 100 years. Started in 1916 and through sales and service channels and have been here ever since. We have major locations are Hillsborough, Beaverton, and Salem. Might surprise you a little bit. The old Sequent campus, we're no longer there in Beaverton. We moved west into Amberglen Parkway. And Nike took over all those buildings. Nike continues to take over the world, or at least the city of Beaverton. And so they were glad to see us vacate it so they could have that space. In Hillsborough, we have members of our Linux Technology Center. Linux, as you may know, is an open source operating system, very distributed model for development. So I also own in 8 different countries. So Hillsborough is just one location. I have people in Austin, Rochester, Minnesota, Poughkeepsie, New York, Endicott, New York, Berlin, Germany, Toulouse, France, and on and on and on. So very distributed model. We also do some database development, some rational tool set out of that location. Beaverton, a company called Ceteris. It's a loan servicing company. So this is kind of a good indication that IBM is not the company you might have thought they were. If you grew up, you might have known them as the typewriter company or the punch card company, if you go back far enough, mainframe company. And that was true. Cash registers in retail all had the IBM logo if you were paying attention. ThinkPads like this that are now Lenovo used to carry the IBM brand. But 50% of our revenue is services, and a big chunk of that is business services. So people that are actually experts in whatever field that we're going in to be consultants, not just IT. So we needed a loan servicing company, we bought one, and they're located in Beaverton, about 1,200 employees there, a couple hundred down in Salem. So that's the other part of IBM in Oregon. Now, the next couple points that are important is not only do we live and work here, we have kids, we're very involved in our community, and so the last full year in 2015, over 7,800 volunteer hours through community services, and through our employee contribution program that we have, $453,000 back into those programs. So just as you've seen some IBM folks here, or in the robotics program, or in Saturday Academy, just care about what's going on in our communities, and so I think that's important. Okay, anybody recognize what this game is? Yes, so it's a game of Jeopardy. Now, a few years back, IBM created a computer we called Watson after the founder of IBM. And it took on the two national champions, if you will, of the game of Jeopardy, the two humans who had been the most successful. Now, if you go back far enough in time, and it wasn't that long ago, looking around the room, only a few of the students would know this reference, but there was something called Deep Blue that took on the world champion chess master, who was Russian at the time. And that was a big deal, because in the first set of matches, the computer lost. So we went off and did some work on some algorithms, and then came back and took him on and beat him. Now, that was considered a big deal because chess is a very complex game, and the human mind, you know, is incredible, and now we actually made a very big computer that defeated him. But chess is a finite game, and it was just a matter of time until you could build a computer with that kind of capability. But now when you take a look at this game, what makes it interesting is it's not just looking up facts and figures, it's not just data crunching, it's not just analysis. You actually have to have the ability to do something a little more cognitive. It deals with inference, and that's something that our human brain does automatically, really hard to do in a computer. So we came up with some algorithms that could do it. And the way the computer worked in this, it wasn't on the internet, so it couldn't just use resources on the internet. There was a set of databases on the back end. But when a question was asked, the computer would do the analysis quite rapidly, and then if it had a 75% or greater certainty on its answer, it would, you know, hit the button and tap in. So with that, we hosted a game show in New York, and the computer won. So while that was entertaining and we got a lot of good press out of it, we used it for PR, it's really, you know, it's just entertainment. So that's not really a great use of expensive equipment in my mind. But the tools and what we actually did, the algorithms plus the computing power behind that, is how do we use machines to learn and then aid human beings in a way that we can't do just on our own, or just not as efficiently. So let me pick on this right here, an oncologist. So for an oncologist to stay current in their field and read all the research that's coming out on a regular basis, what's coming out of the medical universities, field cases, field studies, they have to read 160 hours a week of material. Now, a week only has 168 hours. So you can't do that before your body would just kind of shut down, you'd be done. So, and that's not very realistic. So we've applied this technology in healthcare. We call it Watson Healthcare, using that Watson branding. But with that, same principles apply. So if I'm a doctor, I can put a patient profile in there. I can give their demographics, their medical history, all of that. Symptoms, what I'm seeing, it will come back and tell me, you know, 85% probability, this is what you're looking at. 78%, this is what you're looking at. And with that, gives you the drill down. You can go down and find out where that information exists. You can go research. You can find out who else has treated somebody with those same conditions. And you can do that with anybody around the world. And it's just physically impossible for us to be able to do that without technology like this. So this one has an immediate benefit. Oh, and since I do open source, and you can't read the fine print there, I took this photograph from the Creative Commons library. So why did I do that? It's not a copyright violation if you give credit to where that came from. You know, that's good for a couple of reasons. We've done the same when we've done, my engineers do like a computer demo and they have music in the background that they pull up from the Creative Commons library. So the music industry doesn't take us to court. But what's good about that is it's a place to collaborate, where you give credit and where you can contribute back and forth. And that's really what it's about. Music is in there too. So like if I wrote music and I wanted other people to use the music, if I wanted them to adapt to the music, I would use this license, right? If it's about collaboration. And I wanted to prevent someone from stealing it, monetizing mine, and then penalizing me for that, right? So it goes both ways. Okay, so this chart, just a few thoughts on students and technology. I kind of break it into three different areas. Technology, as it just touches us no matter what we do, whether it's a store transaction or community college. What we find in a lot of states is we have to start with the governor, because those education systems don't connect anywhere until you get to the governor. And in order for this to be successful, it has to be a tight collaboration with the K through 12, then the university system, and industry. And if you don't have all three committed to it, it falls apart. So again, if you do a Google search, that'll be your top hit. Teachers Try Science, which also is now aligned with the next generation science standards. But this one, again, type in Teachers Try Science, it's the top hit. This one has information for teachers, things you can do in the classroom, ways that you can approach it. There's even kind of a collaboration wiki for you to share ideas. This is a helpful tool, so if you haven't taken a look at it, really good at focusing on science, technology, engineering, and math. So what's the new model of education, or how do we get there? So let me just start with this little bullet at the bottom. 40% of today's 8th graders will have a job that doesn't exist today. So if you think about that, when I went to college, there was no Linux. There wasn't an open source license, something like the GPL. And that's what I do today. That's what I manage, the teams that I manage. Used to be that you had to have a connection to someone that had a computer if you were going to get access to it. Now, on my hip is a computer that has a lot of technology, and in 10 years this will be obsolete. Something else will replace it. So I think this is important, that what we're doing is we're giving them a set of skills, a way of thinking, a way of approaching, that will apply to something that doesn't exist today. We have a global point of view while we're in Oregon. Like I said, I've got teams around the world, and what we do know, and this is just kind of a basic concept, is education can drive economic growth. And at our table we were talking about how in some countries they do a better job in this discipline of STEM or STEAM of having more students that get into the university system. And so I like the sports analogy, which was, for the longest time, the US was really bad at World Cup soccer, because all these other countries, they start them young. All you need is a ball and a piece of dirt, and a game ensues. And yet other things that we had access to in the States that other countries didn't, like basketball, we dominated for years in the world scene. And then that has changed. So again, getting it down to where cost and availability open doors for folks. Next is, right now, from an employer perspective, there's not enough qualified people in the job force. We had 2 job openings in Hillsborough, and we couldn't fill them. We couldn't fill them within a 30-day period. And it was for Linux skills, strong communication skills, and system administration. And so it actually got hired in Austin, Texas. So I was disappointed in that. I'd rather hire here locally. It's where I live. It gets us another time zone. There's a lot of reasons for it. So we need to find ways to get that alignment. And then just the disruptive nature of technology, and it can create some opportunities for us in education. I think the challenge within the education system is not just the students, but how do you bring families along? Because we know that if you've got support at home, support from peer groups or community groups, the chance of success is a lot greater. Looking at integrate STEM as a core academic element. As mentioned, there's only 20% of the schools in our state that are doing that. I think it's important that people know technology, how it works, how to communicate effectively, how to problem solve, how to do things in a structured fashion. I think those are the building blocks for STEM, and that's where a good focus. We should look at skills that give meaningful career paths. Now, one of the things I'm always surprised with our students, the high school students that we get working with us in the summer, is just how little they know on what's available. Their idea of an engineer is very narrow. It's either stereotypical, or maybe they know one person and they don't want to be like that person. Like my kids told me, "Dad, I don't want to be an engineer." Especially my daughter. I was really trying to get my daughter into it because there's not enough females in engineering in the U.S. If I look representative population, it's a very small percentage, and so I tried hard. I had her in robotics. I coached her at home, but she's very computer literate. She got a laptop because she wanted to do multimedia presentations, and I didn't have to touch it. She got it on. She got the network printer working, knew the router, all that sort of stuff. And so it just shows that. And this is just something that, as I say, will continue on through their professional career. So that's it. I knew I ran a little bit long, so I apologize for that. I will be around. Feel free to approach me. My email is my last name with a J at us.ibm.com. I'm on LinkedIn.
Thank you, Jim with a K.